summer, I was working at a bar when someone came in and they handed me a flyer with a missing person on it. The missing person on that flyer was a 24-year-old young man by the name of Frankie Bonacci. I had just been introduced to him a few days ago, or a few days earlier than that, and it was so unnatural to me to see that person's face on a flyer for a missing person report. A few days later, the search for him was over when his body was found and an autopsy reported that he had been murdered. It was just crazy to me to think that someone who was so close in age to me was no longer alive. And I just felt like I had to do something. The power that I had, I managed a bar at the time, so we held a fundraiser for him. And the little that we could do is we had a fundraiser, and we were fortunate enough to raise $1,500 that went to his family to help fund the funeral services for his family. But I'm not the only person that reached out and did something. Actually, an entire community came together to support this family and to support this cause. And now, a year later, the murderers of Frankie Bonacci have been convicted, and his voice is still being kept alive. And joining me today are three of the people that were closest to him. Please help me welcome Doug, Cortland, and Pat. Thank you guys for being here today.
Thank you.
All right, so first I want to say my name is Doug Long. I haven't done any interviews. I turned them down for most of the year because I've been busy with 14,000 followers. We're probably the largest community-oriented event. I met with Justin, and I want to make sure and make it very important to everyone here that I met with Justin several times before I did this interview. It's been a year commitment from Frankie's Voice. It's the largest social media activity that we've ever had in this community in the area. We're active with about 14,000 followers, and I think that Cortland, and we want to just say a few words. How do you get 14,000 people through a search team and then find my best friend, who was like a son to me, murdered a following week through us as the community? So I just want to make sure that I know this atmosphere is very difficult for me right now. It would be difficult for anybody sitting here, but it's very important that the message and the platform that I'm given tonight, that everybody hears the message about Frankie's Voice and how does it come about, and we're doing this interview on that here at the park.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. We would like to start out with each one of you telling us about your relationship with Frankie. We'll start with Pat and move down.
I knew Frankie. I met him when I was like 17 years old, and I couldn't stand him. We were at a house, like a party in the woods, and he was crazy. And then about 3.5 years ago, or 3 years ago, I ran into him, and ever since then we became really close. And from that point on, we were just, inseparable. We worked together, we hung out together, we did everything, and he came to my family's parties, I went to his family's parties, like we were always together. So, and he was just one of those kind of guys that I hung out with as much as possible.
How about you? What was your relationship to him?
Well, Frankie actually introduced me and Pat. I met him about over 2 years ago through mutual friends, and then he told me I had to meet his best friend, like we were perfect for each other, and that he was the boy version of me. So he set us up, and obviously it's still working. But yeah, since he was Pat's best friend, he became one of my best friends as well.
How about you, Doug? What would you say about your relationship with Frankie?
Frankie was a role model to a lot of kids. He had gotten himself in a little bit of trouble in his younger days in high school, and I moment a lot of kids through a program. And Frankie was brought to me, and he was extinguished in a lot of ways in the community. Everybody asks why and how does 14,000 people, and you have 7,000 people looking for him that week, how does a person get that likable? He touched a lot of people's lives when he was alive. So keep in mind, Frankie's Voice, we wanted to make sure. I believe today that Frankie's Voice speaks through me. My decisions that I make on a daily basis on the Facebook is not to deter or cut anybody down. Frankie's Voice is uplifting, loving, and to make sure that no violent act would happen like that to anybody sitting in this room tonight. I'm on a mission. I dedicated my life for a year for it, and I'm not quitting. So I'm glad I have this platform tonight. But keep in mind, our platform is loving, generous. Everybody has to take care of each other and look out for our sons, our daughters, and people in our community. It starts here with us tonight.
Pat, I have a question for you. I know there are some things that you did want to talk about tonight while having a platform that would reach out to people. And from what I understand, you were actually friends with both the murderers of Frankie and you were best friends with him yourself. Were you surprised at all when you found out that Jason and Neil murdered a mutual friend of yours?
It was tough because I knew Jason for a long time. He used to live with one of my close friends, and and when we were kids, we grew up by each other. So I ended up always hanging out with him, and then slowly but surely, Neil came into the picture, and not till I started hanging out with Frankie was when I stopped hanging around those guys, and so initially that Saturday when he didn't show up for work, and I texted him and asked him where he was, and he didn't answer. I started to think that like something was wrong, and when I found out that the last people he was with was Neil and Jason, it kind of like set me back because there was an incident a couple months prior to this where Neil and Jason wanted to meet up with Frankie to settle something up, and I think that when I initially heard that the last two people he was with, I got scared because I know those guys and Jason's a good kid, but he's very manipulated by Neil. So I think that when I initially heard that those are the last guys to see him, I just didn't think we were going to find him alive from the very beginning. And I know what the two were capable of. They were always destructive and damaged, but I never thought they would go this far. And I think if you look into their past, it was only inevitable at any given time that they were going to
that something would happen.
Yeah.
If you had the opportunity today to sit down face to face with Jason and Neil, what would you say to them?
I've thought about this question about 100 times, and since the whole thing with Frankie, and most people would assume that I hate both of those guys, and it'd be pretty almost on the dot. It's not to say that I don't hate them, but there's a lot of anger towards those two guys. 'Cause I know if I sat down, I'd ask them if it was worth it. I think I could pick up an answer quick. Would be that they didn't think it through all the way. I think it was more of like an idea, and then it became just some crazy dream, and then they ended up doing it. And I think that would be the only question I would ask them: was it worth it? Was it worth it to do this and be where they are today?
With every tragic incident ever, there's always some kind of lesson that can be learned from this. What do you think is a lesson that can be learned from what happened to your friend Frankie?
If the one thing I could sit down and say that Frankie taught me as being his friend was that he used to tell me it all the time, because I used to always complain about stupid things going on in my life and things that I thought were like the end of the world, and he used to sit down and say, it's not the problems that make the man, it's how the man handles his problems. That's who makes you who you are. And I think the lesson behind it is that I think you just got to think before you act, because I think that anger that Jason had and the manipulation that Neil had over Jason, I think if Jason sat down and thought about what the repercussions were, what he was about to do, I think it'd be a different story. I don't think we'd be up here today.
And that's such a terrible way to have to learn that lesson. Now, the reason that it was very important for me for you to be on the show today is because the 1-year anniversary is coming up, and there's actually something pretty remarkable that you're doing on that day. What can you tell us about what you're doing on the 1-year anniversary of Frankie's death?
Okay, this is there's been so much. This is the third event that we have for Frankie. The first one was the visual site. We made sure that we had about 500 people there. And then the next, we wanted to go to the courthouse at Lackawanna County to make sure we had first night for Frankie's night. That was real important. Now we're doing a 5K run, and we got about 450 registers. So the ironic part about the 5K run, I want to hold your attention for a minute on this, is his 1-year anniversary of being murdered. is July the 20th, and that was the only date that Scranton Running out of the Icebox had open for this year. So it's the actual morning we're running a 5K run on the morning of his murder. So that's very important. I believe that is really great. The other thing I want to thank is I want to thank everybody here. Social media has changed the outcome of the world. I think social media changed the outcome of Frankie's decision in a lot of ways. So I want to thank everybody here. They always down social media, but used in the right way, in a proper way, and I don't talk about the court very quickly. I try to keep it in a positive, loving way. It's very, very important. I want to thank everybody here because social media changed the world on this situation in our county.
Do you think that Frankie's Voice Facebook page, do you think that social media helped change the outcome of the trial?
I do and I don't. I think there was a lot of followers for us when the trial came, the upcoming week to it, a lot of people on our side. But they picked out a jury, like they went through like 150 people, and they made sure that no one had any like preconceived ideas of the issue or already predetermined like convictions that they wanted to do. And they definitely, the detectives, the DA's office, they definitely had people that had no idea of like.
They're very good at making sure.
Yeah, they are.
That happens. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I feel like it did. We had a lot of support on our side.
I think it helped with the support more than anything.
Yeah, but determining the convictions, I don't.
Now, unfortunately, a lot of people may only know Frankie from seeing him on the news. So what I want to know is, as people that were very close to him, what would you like people who didn't have the opportunity to get to know him personally, like myself, what do you want us to know about who he was as a person when he was alive?
Okay, Frankie was a guy that you would take home and have trust with. Frankie was a guy that really you would have a good time and a lot of fun with. But there's always somebody you'll meet in your life that you just click with. It's somebody that you know will never turn your back or walk away from you, never talk about other people. And that's what Frankie was to me. He was very, very important. And also the gentleman that's getting married, the Marine, I'd like to give him my Frankie's Voice bracelet. If you can come up there, I'd like to give him a bracelet there and congratulate him on his good night. That's right from me from day one. Good luck.
How about you, Cortland? What would you like people to, something you'd like them to know about Frankie when he was alive?
I think everyone needs to know that he helped out so many people. He would do anything for anyone. So if we took like that kind of message and like paid it forward almost and did it to everyone else, I think it'd make it a better community.
That's a tough question for me, just because I knew him so well and we were so close. But the one thing I can say about him, the way he was with me, is that like, for most people that know me know that I can come up with the craziest ideas, and I can pretty much manipulate a whole entire crowd to follow this idea. And Frankie would definitely be the guy that's standing right next to me, ready to do whatever there was to do. And if it was 2 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock, it didn't matter. At any given moment, he was ready to do whatever needed to be done, and he was always there, you know?
Now, there was a lot of, because this is such a fresh thing that is still in the community, it's been just short of a year, but it's still fresh in everybody's minds. And there's a lot of controversy about you guys coming here today. And I want to know from you guys, why was it important? I know, Pat, you wanted to say something about this. Why was it important that you did come here on this platform to speak about him today?
I think there is a lot of controversy, and I think it's just that tonight was a good night to be able to separate Frankie from Frankie's Voice. I think that most people just see it on the news and they don't know where the money goes, and it's kind of one of those things that, you know, unfortunately murders happen every day, and I think that here in Scranton the community is so small but so tight that you know, 3 major people were involved in this issue, and there's going to be, you know, controversies. You know, they weren't nobodies. Everybody kind of knew these guys some way or another, and I think that's what causes the biggest controversy, because there's a lot of, you know, he said and she said, and it's like a tug of war game almost.
On a final note, moving forward in your lives, what would you like Frankie's legacy to be?
Frankie's legacy would make his ego really big, so that'd be funny. I guess his legacy, I think, would just be that, you know, whenever you see somebody in need, to help them out. I mean, I know for me, when you know, a couple of years ago, if I saw somebody that needed help, I thought I was too cool to go anywhere near them, and I just walked past them. And even when Frankie was out doing his thing, he still managed to somehow help somebody once a day, or at any given moment that anybody needed help, he was there. You know, and it didn't matter where you were. I've seen him leave at 2 o'clock in the morning to head to Maryland because one of his friends just needed somebody to be there for him. And I think that's, you know, you don't find that in a lot of people, especially kids our age anymore, you know. So I think that's what it would be for me.
Oh, either one of you.
Yeah, I just want to say that I just want to change through Frankie's death just the way we think and have violence in the area in Lackawanna County and our areas. But the only thing I do want to close with Justin was great on the questions. I don't find myself getting asked questions about the trial. My questions are more about Frankie and spreading the love and making sure that I change the community of what happened. The only thing I'll close with is I have to let everybody know, when you're looking for somebody for a week and it's a rainy night, you're down by the railroad tracks and people are telling you they found him and he's been murdered, it's got to be something that plays through my head every minute of the day. So I just want to thank Justin, the Millennials, for having us here, and I don't know, I picked this event to speak tonight. Thanks.
We appreciate that so much. And Portland, what would you like Frankie's legacy to be as people remember him?
Well, I think through Frankie's Voice, what a lot of people don't know is when someone in their family goes missing, like someone's loved one, a lot of people don't go through those situations because it doesn't happen, especially around here. So what Frankie's Voice, what we do on there, we help people. They have loved ones. They'll message the page and they'll like give us a flyer or tell us a little bit about the person, send us a picture, and we repost it. And we have 14,000 followers, so we ask them to please share the flyer and get the word out because they helped us to begin with. So we want to help everyone else that go through the similar situations. So we want to, what our proceeds and everything go to, we donate flyers to them. We have viral recognition. We send water, food to the families that need it. We want to be there for support because we didn't have that, and we just know from experience what it's like.
Well, thank you guys very much for being here, and I think that they are doing a great job at keeping his legacy alive and keeping it going.